I want to start off this video by saying how much I hate the term fake news. I feel like whenever someone says fake news, it's no longer about telling apart what is legitimate and what is illegitimate. People throw around the term fake news when they hear something they just don't want to hear. Every time someone says fake news, I hear it in this, nasty, Trumpian voice where they have no counter argument. They just, nope, fake news, nope. It drives me nuts. But unfortunately, we do currently live in a climate where, because of social media largely, it's hard to kind of weed through what is a real news story and what is a fake news story, what source is legitimate and what is not legitimate. And as someone who did go to school for broadcast journalism and graduated and who currently works in a legitimate news radio station, I feel like it's my job to kind of talk you through this. I have a handful of examples here that I have seen on my own Facebook lately that I would like to use to show you some pretty baloney news stories and just how easily they get thrown around. So this first one that I want to show you is not necessarily a fake news story, but just not news. It's not new news. So every couple of years, this article about Avon, Mary Kay, and Estee Lauder testing on animals again resurfaces. The article was originally posted in February of 2012. That makes it 6 years old now. It resurfaced again in 2015, and now here it is again. Every time it comes back around, people share it on Facebook, and they have these big rants above it about how disappointed they are in these brands, about how, they don't want to support animal testing, about how they didn't know this, blah, 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 blah. And that's great. If you do not want to buy from brands that test on animals, I totally agree with your decision. Totally go for it. Now, the confusing part is some of these brands only test on animals in countries where they have to. So in China, by law, you have to test on animals if you're a cosmetic company. So it's kind of a little bit of a murky situation, but that's an argument for a different day. My point is, these people are very passionate about animals, and they claim that they didn't know this, and they're ranting about that. That's fine. But what bugs me is when they get into the part where they're like, why isn't mainstream media covering this? I haven't seen this story anywhere, blah, 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 blah. That right there tells me that not only did you not even click on the article and read it, but you're sharing it on Facebook. You've written out this essay above it without clicking on it and reading beyond the headline. Because right below the headline is where it says posted February 2012, which means mainstream news sources are not covering the story because it is 6 years old. So that is my first tidbit of advice. Before you share an article on Facebook, read the article. Look at when it was posted. Look at, if it's got an author on it. Look at if there's anybody quoted in it, that sort of thing. That will kind of help you figure out what's real and what's not real. The other thing I see shared on Facebook a lot lately are fake posters. Now, I'm all about graphic design and fan-made stuff. I'm not a great graphic designer myself by any means, but I have a lot of respect for people who are. And one of the ones lately that I have unfortunately had to break hearts about is Napoleon Dynamite 2. While I do believe this could happen someday, it's not happening anytime soon. And a beautiful fan-made poster was made, and it gets shared on Facebook all the time, and I keep having to break it to people that this is not real. There's even a Snopes page on how it's not real. They have not announced Napoleon Dynamite 2, and I found that out just by Googling Napoleon Dynamite 2. First thing that came up was the Snopes page for it. Another big perpetrator is Miyazaki movies. Studio Ghibli is not known for doing sequels, but I keep seeing posters for Spirited Away 2, Ponyo 2, Howl's Moving Castle 2. None of these are happening. The posters are beautiful and clearly fan-made. So if you want to share them just for the art, that's fantastic, but all I ask is that in your little share caption, please say that you know this is fan-made, because someone is going to look at it and just take it for face value and think it's real. But it's not real. This one really gets me too, because during this whole political situation in the States with gun control, obviously following the Parkland shooting, a lot of the students at Parkland High School have become very famous for fighting against guns. David Hogg? He's been one of the big front runners of this, and a website called Red State posted an article about how he's a fraud, and he wasn't even at school during the shooting. First of all, I don't see why this matters. I mean, he goes to the school, and there was a shooting there, so whether he was physically in the building at the time of the shooting or not, don't really see why that matters. But anyway, this singular news source had this story about how David was not at school during the shooting. So that's flag number one for me, is if it's a big story, like that would have been a big story, more than one place is going to have it. News agencies, whether they want to admit it or not, rip from each other a little bit all the time. They take a story, they go with a different angle, they go with this, No news agency in this world is an island anymore. Second flag is that this news agency is called red state. If you're not familiar with American politics, every state kind of considers themselves either a blue state or a red state. Blue states being that they vote more democratically, and red states being that they typically vote for Republicans. So, because, generalizing here, Republicans are typically the ones who don't want to change the gun laws in the states, that kind of shifts to me to begin with that that's maybe propaganda a little bit. And then I did the obvious thing and I just googled red state. The first line of the Wikipedia for red state is an American conservative political blog. American conservative political blog. Right at the top of their own website, they refer to themselves as a conservative blog. So rather than calling themselves a reputable news agency, they consider themselves more of a fan-run blog. So that's issue number 2. Within a couple of days, maybe even weeks, I'm not sure, of posting this original article about David not being at school, they posted a retraction saying that they had misunderstood news reported from CBS. To take it back, they apologized, he was at school at the time, blah, blah, blah. So not only are all the things I said before true, but they took it back. However, during the March for Our Lives rallies all around the world, whenever a post about David would show up from another news source, somebody would always inevitably comment, but he wasn't even there at the shooting, and then post a link to the original Red State article. So that tells me that there are still people out there who see this website as a legitimate news source, and then B, didn't even follow up on the story to see that they took it back, that they realized it wasn't real, and they apologized. So that's my other tidbit, is make sure when you look at a story, you look at it all the way through. You don't just take one random link and call it a day. If it's a real story, multiple agencies will have it. And if multiple agencies have it, make sure you're looking at multiple agencies that don't lean particularly one way or the other. Obviously, you're going to find a lot of news sources that do lean one political way and the other. But I think if you're able to find lots of different sources for the same story, especially if a lot of these sources are more in the middle, more of these sort of reputable, actual, real news sources, you're going to be able to find more information on a story and therefore be able to form your own opinion. Don't just blindly share things on Facebook. Look at what you're sharing. Look at what you're reading. Look at what you're saying. Inform yourself before you spout stuff. Because whatever you say, whatever you comment, whatever you share is a reflection of you. So do you want to be known as that person who just blindly shares this Red State article that they've already retracted? No. You don't. Because then you know as soon as you comment that there's going to be like 40 replies to your comment saying, they already took this back. Be better. Be smarter online. There is so much made up stuff on the internet. But you're smarter than it. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say in this week's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!